Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watch You Want, and thanks for logging on. Today we're looking at the Graham Silverstone Luffield GMT. You can see this 1 of 500 piece limited edition on our website, watchyouwant.com. Purchase it there, and if you enjoy these videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Watch You Want Inc. You can also click on the card in the upper right hand corner of the screen at any time to see our full listing for this watch with additional accessories included, high resolution images, and of course complete pricing information. On my wrist, 6 1/3 inches, 16 centimeters in circumference. This is a large watch, but perhaps not as awkwardly large as some of the unusual Graham watches, such as, for instance, the Swordfish, the Chronofighters, and the 1695s with their outlandish crown and chronograph trigger architectures. This is actually a much more traditional Graham in layout and in wrist stance. Now, the bare numbers are still impressive, because this stainless steel watch is 44 millimeters across the round of the case, not including the still substantial crown and crown guards. Now, it is 17 millimeters thick. This is largely an artifact of the GMT, the Grand Date, the automatic winding system, and of course, the chronograph functions, all sandwiched into a single modular complication. Now, it's also worth mentioning that the watch has a remarkably broad lug-to-lug span of 53.5 millimeters, but it's also important to note that the lugs are dramatically curved. These aren't the kind of lugs that jut out proud of the wrist. Rather, they're the kind that work with you, meeting you halfway, curving down around the arc of the forearm. So even though this is an immense timepiece, it does fit securely on my 16 centimeter wrist, and I would go so far as to say that right down to about 14.5 centimeters, you're going to be able to wear this watch with great style, proportion, and security. It has good ergonomics in that sense. Now, it is hefty on the wrist because of the deep lugs, the deep case, and the immensity of that carapace with bezel. The watch has a substantial heft in the hand that is almost reminiscent of what you would find with a gold case or a tantalum case. Very impressive, very hefty. And so is the strap. Now, the strap is an unusual piece on two levels. First, it's remarkably thick for a natural vulcanized rubber strap, and second, it has a unique, obviously Silverstone motorsport-inspired tread pattern to it. Now, of course, you can make what you will of the asymmetrical pattern and its resemblance to various Michelin Pilot Sport and Pirelli P0 tires, but the bottom line is that it has a very effective sort of tonal complement to the dial, as well as the carbon fiber concave bezel. So it's a nice complement to the motorsports theme, but it's also well coordinated from a color perspective. Now, on the underside, it has nice relief channels, so it does relieve the moisture, the heat, the sweat, the grit that may be lodged against the skin on a hot day. It is, after all, a sports watch, and you can see the individual numbering as well as the limited edition iconography on the case back for this Silverstone. Now, the watch has a very simple and quickly adjusted Graham pin buckle. It is a massive pin buckle, but nevertheless, it is a pin buckle, allowing on-the-fly adjustability, also ensuring that, unlike some high-end sports watches, you'll never have to cut the strap of this one to size it. Now, moving inboard, you can see that the strap is a conforming end-piece strap, such that it is pinned to the contour of the flank of the case, so that there is no daylight. It's a more integrated look, but because it does shoot straight down out of the lug, it doesn't flare, it doesn't want to fight the curve of your wrist. Now, the dial itself, showed a good advantage against the light, is actually a carbon fiber motif, and it has the classic sporting tritone. You can see outboard there is an engraved tachymetric scale, very subtle, a little halo of silver around the carbon fiber black center. It is full Arabic numeral, and it is fully luminescent, so this watch really does glow like a torch in low or no light. There's a lot of information here. You can see we'll start up the chronograph. It does have a chronograph, it does have a Grand double-digit date, it does have a GMT or secondary time zone. Now, the movement in here is based on the tried and true Valjoux 7750 automatic unidirectional winding. In this case, 28 joules and 48 hours of power reserve, making it a bit more refined than a conventional 17 to 25 joule 7750. It does retain the hacking seconds function of the underlying Valjoux movement, as well as the quick set date function for rapidly correcting the double-digit date. Now, you can see on the crown side, the pushers and the crown feature a quadrille style sort of guilloche pattern. It is stamped, not cut, so strictly speaking, it's not guilloche. It's what's known as stamped guilloche. There is an interesting arrangement inside the crown, as much as there's a washer inboard and a sort of spacer between the case flank and the crown itself. Now, this spacer doesn't have a functional role, but what it does is it prevents the crown from being so completely pinned against the flank of the case that you can't reach it in between these broad and high chronograph pushers to unscrew it and use the functions of the watch. So what this collar effectively does is it provides a little bit of spacing so the crown is effectively removed from the absolute flush flank of the case, making it easier to handle and easier to access. Now this is a spectacular watch that's perhaps even a little restrained by Graham standards. It has that classic red, white, and black sporting tritone like a vintage Paul Newman Daytona. At 44 millimeters, it's hardly the largest watch in the Graham catalog, and being more motorsports inspired than aviation inspired, it's perhaps a little bit closer to the reality that a lot of us live. After all, few are ever going to be Battle of Britain fighter pilots, but any one of us can be an F1 sports fan. You can see this unique Graham Grand Silverstone Luffield GMT and buy it on our website, watchyouwant.com.